What's going on, you guys? My name's Ty Knotts and welcome to Top 5 Unknowns. 5 scary Netflix films based on true events. Number 5. The Conjuring was released in 2013 and received positive viewer feedback almost immediately. The American supernatural horror film featured a super suspenseful plot with brilliant cinematic shots and a talented cast. The overall plot follows the story of Ed and Lorraine Warren, paranormal investigators who are also called by the Perron family, who are experiencing disturbing events in their home that they believe to be the work of a poltergeist. The film takes place in 1971 and is based on a chilling true story. As many may know, Ed and Lorraine Warren are a real couple that gained fame around the world for their professional work in the paranormal field. They're known for identifying the supernatural, obtaining proof, and providing exorcisms to aid victims in scary situations. Many details in the movie stay true to the real facts of the case. The Perron family moved to a 14-room farmhouse in Harrisville, Rhode Island in early 1971. Carolyn and Roger Perron had 5 young daughters, so their days were busy and filled with farm work, education, and other chores. For the most part, they had little time for nonsense. Small, strange happenings began to occur when the family settled into the home. Objects would mysteriously move on their own, and a few of the daughters would report odd noises at night, but it was nothing too concerning in the beginning. Things only grew worse over time, though. The family experienced smells and sensations such as the scent of rotting flesh in the floorboards, chilling cold spots in the basement, mysterious gusts of winds, and eventually things got so bad that beds would float off the ground with children still in them. Carolyn conducted some brief research about the farmhouse and found that it was home to one family for over 8 generations. Many members of this family died on the property years ago, often to freak and horrible accidents. A significant number of children unexplainably drowned in a nearby creek, and one woman named Bathsheba Sherman was rumored to be a Satanist responsible for the death of a neighbor's child. Bathsheba also died on the property and was buried just a few miles away. The family eventually blamed her for most of the haunting and deemed her a motherly figure of many of the deceased children. In the film, Bathsheba is the main spirit that torments the Perron family. This award-winning film is available for streaming on Netflix, and knowing the true backstory will give the viewer a new and more disturbing look at this horrifying movie. Number 4. Veronica is a horror movie that was released at the BFI London Film Festival in 2017. While it did stir up quite a buzz at its release, its true popularity was birthed in early 2018 when it was released on Netflix. The film is in Spanish, but Netflix offers a variety of voiceover and subtitle options to make viewing accessible for everyone. The story follows a teen girl who just lost her father and struggles to look after her siblings while her mother works tireless hours. Veronica comes across a Ouija board and a book about dark magic. She uses these tools to attempt to contact her deceased father. Contact with the spirit is made, and Veronica begins experiencing a haunting. At first, she assumes that the spirit is her father, but it becomes clear after a few days that the spirit following her is much more dark in nature and completely unrelated to her father. A terrifying nun at her school warns of the dark evils that can be unleashed when one tries to contact the deceased. Things continue to grow more and more out of hand as the haunting becomes more violent and severe. Veronica is forced to save her sibling's life, try to hide the truth from her mother, and banish the evil that has made presence in her home. Overall, the movie is a captivating and unsettling tale for viewers to watch. And it's based on very true events that took place around 1990, involving a woman named Estefania Lazaro. Veronica takes a slightly different path in telling this story, but it's still fairly accurate to the real case, and Netflix users can travel down the rabbit hole of the young teenage girl who was tormented literally to death. Number 3. This film is more of a documentary, unlike the others on this list, but it's still a great Netflix watch that follows the true events and relates to pop culture. Director William Friedkin is best known for his work on the 1973 film The Exorcist. The film immediately succeeded with audiences and has attracted a huge fan base over the years. The film has been referenced in mass media for decades and has inspired similar creations. It's easily one of the biggest projects on the resume of this talented director, and therefore plays a major role in his life. Controversy has long surrounded the film production, with claims of on-set abuse directed at the film's female lead, Linda Blair. Members of the cast and crew also made claims that the production itself was cursed, and paranormal activity frequently occurred on the set. Friedkin admitted that the film was a strange experience with him, and it caused him to develop an obsession with real-life exorcisms. The documentary, The Devil and Father Amorth, follows a ninth exorcism that Friedkin observed. The ritual was performed on an Italian woman by Father Amorth, who's often referred to as a celebrity priest in the religious community. The film's reception wasn't the best, though. Critics described it as tired and lacking a compelling story. However, when you consider the past associated with the exorcism, it's a must-see for many fans. Number 2. The Ritual is a 2017 mystery that closely follows the story of the Yuba County Five. An online description of the movie plot reads, reuniting after the tragic death of their friend, 4 college pals set out to hike around the Scandinavian wilderness. A wrong turn leads them into a mysterious forest of Norse legend, where an ancient evil exists and stalks them at every turn. In the film, the men are taken hostage after a scary night in the woods by a pair of women. An elderly woman and her young sidekick inform the men that they will be used as a sacrifice to a dark evil. They're tortured and many of them are killed, but one manages to escape. The movie is a paranormal thriller that will effectively terrify the viewer and make them think twice before going on any big hiking trips anytime soon. The story is much less paranormal, but equally mysterious and disturbing. At first glance, the story seems like a tragic hiking trip gone wrong for a few young men, but the strange details surrounding the case make it more baffling and has kept the story alive in the years following. While the case is most commonly referred to as the Yuba County Five, it's officially known as the disappearance of Gary Mathias. On the night of February 24, 1978 in Yuba City, 5 young men attended a basketball game and had a seemingly fun time and a normal afternoon together. The group of friends bought snacks at a small convenience store, and according to the cashier, they didn't buy anything out of the ordinary, just junk food and drinks. After this, the timeline becomes unclear. Some speculate that Gary Mathias lured the rest of the boys into the woods, and others believe the group all consensually agreed to take the hiking trip. None of the boys informed their family members, and despite having a Special Olympics basketball game the next day they were all excited for, they headed into the woods very late. None of the boys were ever seen alive again, and the 5th boy, Gary Mathias, who was age 25, was never found. Before the discovery of the other boys' bodies, their vehicle was found just a few miles away near a mountain. The vehicle had been abandoned, though it seemed to be in perfect working condition. When the bodies were found, 3 of them were diminished to just bone as a result of animals feeding on them. The body of one of the boys named Ted was found in a trailer. Evidence suggests that he may have lived there for 3 months after the night of their disappearance. His shoes were missing, and an autopsy revealed that he died of starvation. The confusing part of this is that there was a sufficient supply of food and hydration available in the trailer. Additionally, there were heating supplies available that Ted apparently didn't use. Gary's shoes were discovered in nearby woods that led them to assume he survived for some time. A few months after their bodies were discovered, an investigation was opened, and a witness came forward and said that he was in the area on the night that the boys went missing. He reported that his car was stuck in the snow just a few feet from the Montego that the boys had been driving. He saw and heard the group of boys and called for their help, but they instantly went silent and turned off their flashlights. This suggests that foul play could have been involved. Some peculiar facts of the case involve the mental state of each young man. All 5 of them suffered from some form of mental illness or a learning disability. Gary specifically was diagnosed as a schizophrenic and often suffered from delusions and paranoia. The case of the Yuba County Five is still ongoing and sparks the occasional attention from both investigators and the public. As with any mysterious case, some wonder if paranormal or supernatural activity was involved. In fact, viewers of the acclaimed film The Ritual claim that the film presents a likely reality for the case. Number 1. The Disappointments Room was released in 2016, and according to an online plot summary, it states, Dana and her husband David and their 5-year-old son Lucas start a new life after moving from the hustle and bustle of New York. They move to an old manor in a quiet countryside. After settling in, Dana starts to experience terrifying visions and dreams that she can't explain. The mystery grows when she stumbles upon a secret room in her attic. After finding the key and unlocking the door, Dana discovers the dark history of the family that lived there in the 19th century. Eventually, Dana finds that her new home belonged to a prominent judge that was well regarded within the community. The judge and his wife had a child with a mental disability that they kept locked away in a secret room in the attic. The spirit of that child allegedly haunts the home and torments Dana to the brink of insanity. The story is unsettling for sure, however it seems a bit far-stretched and entirely made up, but surprisingly much of the story is true. The film was adapted from an earlier telling of the story on HGTV, titled If the Walls Could Talk. This version of the story steers much closer to the real events that unfolded but still takes advantage of some fictional aspects. To compare, Lori and Jeff Dumas purchased a new home in Rhode Island. After moving in, Lori began exploring the property and found a spare room near the attic that was closed off from the rest of the house. The room only had a doorknob on the outside and was also secured with a deadbolt, making it impossible for someone inside the room to exit. The floor was made of metal and had a small drain near the center. The windows were too high for the average person to reach, and the room was overall just mysterious. In the film, the room is made out to be much more sinister and dungeon-like, but the truth isn't far off. While discussing this room at a local library, a passerby informed Lori that she had a disappointment room, which was a common feature in the 1700s and 1800s. The woman said historically these rooms were used for parents who had a child with a disability that they wanted to keep a secret, so they hid them away up on their third floor, which was just unbelievable. In the film, the judge who had the disabled daughter had his wife lock her away, and she was abused in the most twisted of manners. The reality, though, is that Lori researched the family to find that they had a daughter named Ruth, who they tried to keep a secret from the public. There's no announcement of her birth or any mentions of her life. No family photos showed the young girl, and the public generally had no idea who she was. The only proof to confirm her existence is a family burial plot with a little girl named Ruth who died at age 5. Most assume that this is the child that was kept away in the disappointments room, but there's no saying how she was treated or why she was locked away. Considering her early death, it's very likely that she was gravely ill. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you liked this video, be sure to click that like button. Also, don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell to keep updated with our videos.